after death and beyond. And life after death is very exciting, not compared to the opening of the show, but we're going to change that because it's a little more exciting. Hi, Kelly Rice.
Hi, James. How are you
Every time I see
feeling?
that or hear that, I'm like, we need a little more uplifting, like going into
Right.
the light. It's gotta be
Exactly. I think that'd be a good idea.
take a nap. How are you, Kelly?
I'm really great. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you very much. I'm very excited about our show tonight.
Oh my gosh, do the dead hear us on the other side?
The dead hear us on the other side.
Interesting.
What do you think, Kelly?
Well, I think, yes, they hear a lot of what goes on. You betcha they hear. You bet.
Yeah, they really do. And tonight's guest, we have very an expert in the field. And gosh, we have an old relationship. She was one of my really beginning students a long, long time ago.
Yeah.
And she's written her first book, Infinite Life, Infinite Lessons. Kelly, you want to give a little bit of background?
Yeah, let me tell you a little bit about her, our guest. We have a very special guest tonight who I'm just crazy about. Her name is Susan Grau, and Susan is an international recognized intuitive, medium, and inspirational speaker. She's a celebrity reader. She's been featured in Lifetime and Gwyneth Paltrow's Goop, The Hollywood Reporter, the Vancouver Sun News. I could go on. And she was featured in James Van Praagh's exclusively preferred medium site. Susan has completed her doctorate of divinity with the renowned Dr. Raymond Moody, the founder of Studies in Near-Death Experiences. And in the area of ministries and near-death experience, Susan is a certified professional with a background in counseling. And she offers mediumship and intuitive, clairvoyant life coaching. She goes on and on. She does a lot of wonderful things. And she's an extraordinary medium. So we have a lot to talk about. And she's got a new book out, everybody, which everybody should check out, because this is, I've been reading the book and I can't put it down. I mean, it starts off with the bang. I can't put it down. It's called Infinite Life, Infinite Lessons, Wisdom from the Spirit World on Living, Dying, and the In-Between. Please welcome Susan Grau.
Welcome, Susan.
Hi.
Hey, Susan. Yeah. And Susan and I recently were down in North Carolina together doing an event for Hay House Publishing, our publisher. And Susan, we did it. What was it? A 2-hour event or a 3-hour event or whatever the heck it was?
It was long and
good. It was a long event. And Susan, you were incredible, by the way. How many participants? There's been, I don't know, thousands of participants.
There were 57,000 that signed up, from my understanding, and we had 7,000 on the screen moving at all times.
And mediumship in itself is not always, it's not easy, I would say, between the three of us. And Susan, I mean, I just love observing other mediums. And I'll never forget when you were there and you were so clicked into this woman, and you said it was I don't know if it was a female cancer, and it was really interesting because you zoned right in. And at one point you gave, I think it was teddy bear, you gave a name, a nickname.
Oh, a lamb.
And that was their pet name for each other. And it was just like, wow. And it was, everybody felt it. It was amazing.
Yeah, that was bizarre to me. I mean, it was just, I kept seeing a lamb go in front of me. I'm thinking, is it God? They're Lamb of God. What does this mean? And then finally, I argue with spirit, of course. I'm not saying it. And then finally I gave in, and it meant something. So usually how it is, as soon as we say it, it's there in front of us and it means something.
So tell us, when do you first, for the audience, when did you first start with mediumship? And did you experience when you were a little girl, or how did it all start for you?
Yeah.
Well, I've been a medium since I was born. I remember seeing animals float when they would die, and that was just a normal. I never thought it just was. Yeah. And that was, I remember as far back as about 3.5 when I first saw that, and we had land. And so we used to see animals, transition. At 4.5 years old, I got locked in an unplugged freezer in a garage. I
have to tell you, when I read that part of the book, I kind of froze. It was, and that's how you start the book with this.
You told that. Tell that story again. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Oh, it's long, but I'll tell it really. I'll cut it short. I'll tell it short. I got locked in the freezer by some boys, and they closed the garage door and they ran home. Our garage was separated from our house. So my mom heard your baby's in the freezer. She had this gift. My sister, my brother, they all had it. But she didn't listen because they locked my mom up for this gift and medicated her. Oh. So she wasn't listening. And I remember screaming at the top of my lungs. I saw 3 beautiful, bright lights, and they told me to stop screaming. And then another bright light, I didn't stop. And another bright light was there of the three, the strongest one said, stop screaming. Very lovingly, we're going to get, but firm, we're going to get your mommy. And then I heard, but first we're going to, and I just kind of disappeared from my body. Now, they say I was in there anywhere from 20 minutes to 2 hours. I'm sure it's somewhere in between.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I went into the bottom of a stairway, and I was looking up these stairs, and I was looking at a Roman Greco room. Now, keep in mind, I didn't know that then. I was a child, but I understand it now. And I knew in the middle of that was a well. And it's so interesting because I call it the well. I said to Raymond or Dr. Moody, I didn't see a tunnel. I want to see, why didn't I see a tunnel? I was so disturbed by that. And he said, do you ever think about the well was probably your tunnel? And I was blown away when he said that. I mean, it was so shocking. And anyway, I saw prayers and words and movement, and I asked where I was, and they said, you're in the room of heart's desires. And I could see people like DNA, their words and their prayers. You know, my mom's dying of cancer. Please save her life. I want a new car. I'm turning 16. Tell my dad to get me one. And it was all intermingled like one consciousness. And a lot of backstory in that. And then I flashed to this road called the Yellow Brick Road, which I saw humans paving the path, and there was pyramids, and they were pulling from the bottom of these pyramids. And I just innately knew that was their life balance. It was their life journey, and they were unbalancing it. Wow. And I saw them drop to their knees and ask for help. And I watched the angels, which crossed me over and brought me back, come in and start pulling from the top of this pyramid, and it would recreate itself. And they put all the pavers back to the bottom that everyone else was using to pave their path, and rebalancing their life journey. And then I saw them paving, and they said, we are the pavers, you are not. All you have to do is walk it. And I said, how do you know if you're walking it right? And they said, we bless and we block everything. What you try to control controls you. What you run from chases you. So all you need to do is shift. And if you shift and see another wall, shift again. And if you see another wall, shift again. And before you know it, we'll be paving your path. You think, and they pointed to what I thought was my head, but I'm not sure I had one. You think you know what's best for you. And they covered their hearts with this energy, I can't explain it, and said, we know what's best for you. And then I flashed into the room of knowledge, which is the Akashic records. I don't relate to that word. I called it the room of knowledge. And I saw tablets, like virtual book tablets, coming at people. Wow. And they were opening them, and they were making plans, and they were overdoing it. And I could hear the angels and the people in that room, the spirits in that room, saying to them, oh, no, sweetie, I don't think you want to do all that. Oh, I can. I know I can. I call it the PhD in hardship. Chose that. Yeah. And then a lot went on in that room, and then poof, they were gone. And then I went to the room of companions, were animals. And then I was in a field. You know those flowers that you blow on and make wishes?
Dandelions.
Dandelions.
Yes. Dandelions and daisies. And I was in this field, and I looked to my left, and there was a mountain, and this beautiful entity was on that mountain. And I wanted so bad to go up that mountain, but I started to see its essence, light essence, come towards me, and it was enveloping me. And then an angel came out and said, it's time to go. And she explained to me that we're going to go through the water. I'm cutting this really short because it would take an hour to tell the story.
Keep it going.
Yeah. And she told me I was going to go through the water. She told me I was going to have a difficult life journey, and that I was going to help people with it. And I didn't want to go. And then she said, well, you're going to see your mommy. And I got into the water. It was a river, and they bid me goodbye. And the next thing I know, my mom was pulling open the freezer door, spun me around. I didn't know. She said I was ashen and not breathing. And she went to go get a phone because there were no cell phones. So she was screaming, and my sister came running out, and I hit the floor, and I cracked open my jaw and took a breath.
Oh.
My mom said I was blue and ashen, both. And all my nail beds, everything was blue, and ashen means drained of blood, basically, of life.
And drained of vital life force, gone.
Yeah. And she said all my colors started to come back, and I started breathing. And
how old were you? How old were you when this happened?
4.5.
4.5.
Almost 5, couple months away from 5.
Well, let me just tell you, my granddaughter is 4.5. So just hearing this story is traumatic. But I can imagine a 4.5-year-old going through this when 4.5-year-olds don't have the capacity for something like this. It's an extraordinary story that happened.
Well, when I first started writing the book, I thought it was going to be a labor of love, but it was actually a labor of pain.
I bet.
But you had to read the book a while ago, didn't you? You started it quite a bit ago, your book. I mean,
it's been about a year.
Yeah, I thought you were like...
Well, 2 years now. 2 years
You wanted
now.
to write it for a while. I remember that. You wanted to write it. But I
Oh,
remember you
yeah.
were worried about what you were going to write about.
I know. I never thought about writing about my experience, but I remember seeing the first time I saw you, James. I told you this, but I have to say it to everyone. You walked directly up to me and said, "You've had a near-death experience. You've got spirits all around you, and you talk to them, and you need to face this. You need to look at this. They're everywhere." And you told me a little bit about my experience as a child. You didn't say as a child, you just said my experience. You told me a few things and I thought, this guy's good.
Yeah.
That was my first
15 years ago.
That was my first introduction to you. Actually, it was a long time ago. It could have been even longer.
A class we were in together or
something. But I think you were teaching it or helping someone.
I was teaching you, and I remember your energy when I first saw you. And I connected right with you. I loved your light. I remember when I saw you in the, you were one of the participants and students. And it was, I remember, I walked right up to you. I remember that. We got a little clip.
Yes.
Right away.
Yes. And you told me one day you're going to be a wonderful medium. You're going to be a great medium and people are going to know your name. And I thought, he's crazy. It's not going to happen. That I thought you were crazy. He's just being nice is what I thought. And then, and then the second time I took a class with you that you were actually teaching on your own. And I said to you, I want to write a book. And you said, you must. And so I did.
What was it like for you to actually put down those deep experiences that you share in the book? What was that like?
And did you want to share those experiences? Because a lot of that stuff you don't want to share, but it's very vulnerable, as Kelly knows. It's a very vulnerable.
It's very vulnerable. And I read a lot of your books, Susan, and parts of it that you go into your story. My heart just was like really open to hear this story. It was, I see why you're such a great medium, because you need to have those, when you have those type of experiences, you've got to do something with them. And your story, people will relate to your story.
It was intensive, especially the younger trafficking part, and then the losing of my brothers and my mother. I mean, that was extensive and painful. But when I was writing it, the hardest part for me was actually being in the freezer, because when I was writing it, they said, do not spiritually bypass when you're writing. That's what Hay House told me. So I was trying to step into that, and the pain of the memory and the fear. I didn't realize, my God, I didn't realize how afraid I was. And I kept saying, this is real. This was real. This happened to me as a little, like you disconnect.
Well, what happens at 4, there's a period, it's magical thinking. And you couldn't even get to that point because it was so real that it happened. Like I said earlier, as a therapist, you didn't have the capacity to even understand or any of that, but you had the spiritual experience, which you did not forget. And you remembered that really, really well. And obviously that's what saved you. But I would think that, I would hope that you've worked through some of that trauma. That's deep.
I called it my magical. I called it my magical.
Susan, the words on your page, that when you read the book, and the words are alive. I mean, that's what every author wants, words to be alive. And I just got to say, you share your experiences in that they're right there. Just like the story you just told us with the freezer. When you read the book, it's like, oh my God. And you don't hold back, man. You just go for it. You're right for it. And you're so real and so honest with your experience that every single person will get something from that. It's like, wow. Yeah. And she's vulnerable and she's able to tell her story. And not many people can do that.
Yeah.
Thank you. It was hard. Yeah. I got a little afraid with a few of the areas, but then I decided, my soul's already survived. And I called it, when I was a little girl, my magical magnifying mind, because I would just go to a different place and magnify that instead of the traumas.
Wow.
And that's how I survived.
Yeah.
What is though, Susan? You've helped not only give yourself therapy and help yourself heal, but everybody that reads this will get this essence of healing as well in their own lives. They can turn it within themselves and their own life experience and heal that. And again, you stepped out and you did it. And I got to
I
give
did
you
it.
kudos for that, because
Yeah.
and yes, Kelly has too when her book comes out.
Well,
But
James said the same thing to me. You have to write this book. You've got a story. You have to write this book. And you know, it is painful when you're reliving all of the
Oh
things.
yeah.
And it's funny. You grew up in Southern California, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So did I. So
Orange
it is
County.
interesting.
Orange
Where were
County.
you in Southern Cal?
Toluca Lake, Beverly
I
Hills,
was
and
in
Toluca Lake. Where were you?
La Puente for my early years that you read, and then we moved to Huntington Harbor and Huntington Beach.
Yes.
Oh wow. Yeah.
But that didn't stop the trauma, because you know, when you've been trafficked or molested or any of those things, you have that little thing on your back that says I'm free to you, you know, and so it perpetuated that. But yeah, we had a really bad neighborhood, and in fact, someone came to me a couple times recently, and I was helping her, and she said, I said, I know you from somewhere. Ended up, we played together as children, and I said, do you remember these things going on? And she said, 100%. I wasn't allowed to go to your house. You had to come to mine because my mom wouldn't let me out of the house because of it.
Oh my God,
Wow.
Susan, the fact that you survived all of that.
And Susan,
Yeah.
beyond media, we do therapeutic work for people as well.
I do. I'm
Tell
a
us about that
licensed
part of yourself, the
counselor.
sessions that you do, and how you help people in that respect.
I work with grief and addiction. Those are my two specialties.
And
And
tell us
I'm a
about it.
counselor, a licensed counselor. I'm not a therapist. I'm a licensed counselor, which is very different. It's a lot less schooling. So, you know, my hat's off to you, Kelly. But I worked very hard to learn to heal those areas of my life so I could help others. So I get a lot of people, believe it or not, that are trafficked come into my office.
Really?
And sometimes,
Yeah.
sometimes they're traffickers are out in the car.
Oh,
Happened
Susan.
to me a couple times where I just went, all right, what am I going to do right now? Like, what is my next right step? Because they're afraid, but and they're not ready to do anything. They just want to connect in. Then they find me somehow. And also suicides, you know, because of my brothers and my mom. My mom died from complications of attempted suicide. My brothers died instantly.
God.
So
I'm just curious,
yeah.
before your mom and brothers suicided, were there other suicides in your family lineage?
Not to my knowledge, but my uncle, he's actually my cousin, but we called him uncle because he was so much older. He tried to kill himself by shooting himself in the stomach. So I think probably that had an impact on my brothers in some way. But
Sure.
I had friends who did it. I mean, it was just in my journey, always.
What a
Always.
journey.
And I want to go back to just a second for just the title of the show tonight, which is about the Human Spirit Hear Us. So when did you start hearing the spirit world as clairaudient?
And the minute I came back from that experience, when I got well, like it took me a while, not very long. Maybe I slept through the night and then felt sick and slept through the day. And then that night I saw them everywhere. I could hear them.
You heard them clairaudiently?
I heard them mumbling. It's like murmurs. And then I saw them. And I knew something was there, but I thought they were the boogeyman. So I covered my head with my blankets and said, go away, go away, go away.
I did too.
I did too. Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, they were scary to me, but they never hurt me, but I was scared.
Something you said earlier when you were explaining about your experience of NDE experience, and which I love, that room of companions and the heart room, the desires. When you said yourself, like people's words and wishes, when we hear the spirit world, when you hear them, and I know it's probably changed over the years, obviously. Did you get a sense that many spirits are speaking at once, or when in the spirit world, how do you take it on? What's your perception of what it's like over there when we say something on the earth to our loved ones, they hear our thoughts? How do they hear our thoughts? And how do they transmit thoughts to us, do you think?
Well, I feel that they are always connected to us. They never have gone anywhere. And I think we see them as outside, you know, far away. And really, they're just an extension of our energy. We are all connected energetically. And it's hard to fathom as a human. But you know, I tell people we're not just souls having a human experience. We are also humans having a soul experience. And we have to remember there's both sides to that, and they are souls. And so they're not going to leave us. There's a very strong connection there for me. When they speak, I hear them individually because I've kind of commanded that, because otherwise I can't help. So I'll line them up, and something you taught me actually, just kind of put them in in line so you can hear them.
Right.
And so I do. And because, you got the grandmother stepping forward going, I want to talk. And then the mother goes, it's my daughter, and then you've got this going on, and you can really feel the way that they were here. And people always ask me, if they talk and communicate the way they did here, in meaning, in the energetically, are they unhappy there? And I say, no, they're dropping their energy down to be in our energy. But when they're up there at their highest self, they're not feeling these. They understand the beginning, the middle, and the end. So they're not experiencing, the sadness and those things, because they understand that you're doing soul growth, you're doing expansion. But when they're down here, they're going to make amends to help you heal, and they're going to remember things, but they're not going to carry the pain behind the memory. That wouldn't make any sense to being in the other world, or the world connected to us. So, I explain that to them, and they're peaceful. They go, okay, as long as they're not coming in pain, because they're so afraid when they see like their son's going, I'm really sorry, Mom, for what happened. I know this affected you. They're worried that they're making their children feel bad, or whoever it is. And I explain that to them, and then it gives them peace.
And what do you say to people who, and can I get this all the time? I'm sure you have before, and Kelly as well. When people say, I don't want to disturb them. Oh my God, if I think about them, I don't disturb them. I want to hold them back to their evolution. What do you think about that, Susan?
Oh, they are so happy to be here. They want to communicate so badly, and they're disturbing you. That's what I want to say. They're coming in to talk to you. I'm not really in charge. I can decide if I want to be the conduit, but they're the ones coming in. They're the ones that want to share with you. So you're not disturbing anything. I did not see that up there, and I saw communication.
Yeah.
I saw it when I was there. I just didn't understand it. And I learned to communicate, actually, bottom line, was when I was telling my mom, I'm in the freezer, I'm in the freezer, I'm in the freezer. That was my first lesson of communication. So she could feel the hits of me saying it. And I wanted to talk to her. I'm okay. I'm up here. I wanted to tell her this story.
Did you ever share any of that with your mother?
Yes, I did.
How did she receive it?
My mom had a lot of fear. I have to say that I believe, I've visited the spirit world more than once, and I think that when I had a brain tumor, and I had this experience when I was in surgery. And I can recall telling my mom, because she's not on the planet anymore, and I don't want to put words in it, but I remember telling her what I experienced, and she said, oh, like you told me before. And she was willing to hear it because she was getting older, and she wasn't afraid, because that wasn't that long ago. It was only about 13 years ago. So she was willing to hear it then. And I said, Mom, I went back there and I got to see the room of heart's desires, and I saw everybody walking like Jello. And I asked them, why are you walking like that? And they said, I don't feel like I don't understand my ethereal body, is what they said. And I thought that was really cool, because they were like Jello. And that's how I felt, and I was witnessing it again, which was amazing. I actually woke up from my surgery. I actually woke up from my surgery, and I said to my girlfriend, who I didn't know was in the room, I said out loud, it was pitch black. And I said, oh my God, am I dead? And I know better. It's not black there. But to see the stars, you have to have the black of night, right? So I thought, oh, I must be dead. And I said, am I dead? And I hear her in the corner saying really loud, I certainly blah, blah, hope not, because if you are, that means I am. And I just started laughing, and there we were. On this planet.
Gosh. Do you feel that your brain injury or your brain surgery, along with when you were younger, do you think that helped you with your gift?
I think every single thing I've ever been through helped me. Everything. I know that our experiences are our greatest teachers, and pain is our greatest motivator for growth. I see joy and pain as equal in value. They both teach us something. And in fact, when I'm in pain, I learn more because I want out. Yeah. So it's so powerful. It's so powerful. So yes.
Susan, I was just going to say that the experience you were as a child that you went through, those hard experiences, they made you a great medium. I mean, you wouldn't be that well-rounded a medium and full of experience if you hadn't gone through those major experiences. And you'd have the empathy as well, which is incredible.
Yes, I understand grief deeply. And so I know how to approach it and how to help in a way that is different maybe than, when I teach my students, I tell them, you are going to study grief more than you're going to study mediumship. You're going to know the ins and out like a Rubik's Cube. You're going to know how to turn it every which way. And if you don't belong here with me. Because those people that come to us, whether they're aware of it or not, when the minute you bring up a loved one, even if they think they're over it, the grief comes in. The joy comes too, a lot of the time, especially years later, but the grief is still there. You never get over grief. Grief's in charge. It decides when it's over with you. And I always tell them, it's in the corner doing push-ups, waiting for you to be vulnerable. So you have to understand it in order to get through it and move through it. So that you're not asking yourself, what's wrong with me?
You have to move through it. You can't let it stick you down. You got to move through it. You can't let it hold you back. You got to move through it, like you said. It's something you learn to live with. You know,
yes, and it's there. Like think 10 years later when you're somewhere and you get that trigger. There it is, as strong as ever, doing those push-ups. It's ready to come get you. And you have so to learn. We grieve from the moment we're born. Your mom, birth is a grief. You're not in the womb, and then acceptance. You get in their arms. And every single thing. If I lose my favorite pen, if I lose it, I go through all the stages. I'm going to find it. I didn't lose. I'm going through every stage of bargaining, and then I get to that acceptance.
Anger, depression, the whole thing.
Yeah, but we are prepared. We just don't know it. And so mediumship taps them into that preparation, and grief work taps them into that preparation so that they realize, oh, I have gone through grief. This isn't new to my soul. My soul has survived grief all of my life in some form, even the smallest of grief. And so we can handle the big, maybe.
I want to get back a second. If you excuse me 1 second, I just want to get back to the theme of the show tonight, which is they did hear us on the other side. What do you think as far as, because this is just Kelly, I'm not sure how you think about this either, but my whole idea, well, I think my desire for the change of the world would be if people knew the responsibility of their thoughts, that what they thought, the spirit world could hear them and see them. If they only knew that they'd meet up with their thoughts when they pass over. I mean, how can we change that, Susan? How can they, that the thoughts, do people know that thoughts are things, and how can we
No, they don't. And they don't realize the energy they're projecting out. When I was there, they talked to me about that.
Yeah, talk more about that to us, about the projection of energy.
Well, they made a very strong point of how you view something will be how it is. So whether it be fear, whatever you perceive it to be will become your reality. And that was mind-blowing to me. And that doesn't mean I listened. I have to tell you, I'm a human having a human experience, and I've blown it a lot. But I understand it. I know what they meant. And that is truth in everything we do. How we perceive it's our reality. And that includes communicating with them. So if I'm saying, so say a spirit talks in my head and I go, oh, I just think they'd say that. Well, they hear that. Now, if and that might not have been them, but the good news is, and this is what I love about the spirit world, is the minute they think I'm going to accept hearing them that way, here they come. So I can be wrong and still be right. Does that make sense what I'm saying? So they're always communicating. And it's okay if I'm wrong, because that means that they're going to start coming that way anyway, because I've said, I believe it's you. I'm going to trust it. I'm going to trust that. So they love to communicate, and it is powerful for them too. They get to be part of the journey with us. I mean, I don't think I'd want to be up there not seeing my loved ones go through the journey, no more than I want to be here not seeing my loved ones go through the journey up there. We want that connection. And so, the spirit world makes that possible, but it's getting rid of your limiting beliefs, going to that awareness, acceptance, and action. There's where the power position is. You're aware they're there, you accept they're there, and you take action, which is trust. That's all you have to do is trust, right, wrong, or indifferent. And they're going to come in and keep talking. And they're going to keep doing it because you are open to receiving. All you have to do is believe in the possibility. You don't have to believe it all. Just believe in the possibility, and they will speak to you.
I have a question for you along that lines. I have clients that talk to their ancestors, and all of a sudden they'll start seeing loads and loads of orbs on their Ring camera, which is the wildest thing. So tell me about how they hear, how they are ancestors who have been gone for a long time. How is that they can hear us?
Well, I think there's a higher self there. So if they have come back, their highest self is still there, because I don't think we could come here with our highest self. We'd implode. This is the planet Earth, right? This is the hardship place. This is where you get your PhD in hardship. This is it right here. So I believe the higher self is there. Now, I know there's other belief systems and I honor those, but for what I saw, I think we rejoin our highest self, teach our highest self things, and give information and come back and expand some more and go back up and teach again and come back down and expand some more. So I really believe that, but I don't see it as a revolving door. So a lot of times people will wait for us. They want to spend time with us. It would be barbaric to think we get to the other side and they wouldn't be there. So, I believe that orbs are a really efficient way to travel for them.
That's great.
So, I had an incident when they spoke to me loud and clear when I was trying to reject this gift because I was in pain over a week of children and it was suffering for me. And I was telling them, I really love you, but I can't do this anymore. I just can't. I was crying. And you can see this on my Susan Grau official Instagram. Out of nowhere comes this orb. It was showering orbs. It stopped completely. One orb shaped as a heart right in front of me.
Wow.
Perfect heart drops down in front of me and goes, poof, and then all the showering came back. Unreal. And I thought, oh, I can do this. They love me. I have to do this. It totally changed my mind. I went, okay, it's real. I have to do it.
Right.
So,
wow. Well, even us as mediums, we love to see, proof like that as well.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Because I have my doubts. I'm human.
Mm-hmm.
I have a human mind, and I know I'm not supposed to, but I do.
But Susan, I think your faith, Susan, I think your faith has gotten you through. I think you're gotten you through, and your faith has gotten you through. And Kelly, what you're saying with the ancestors, I would like to just put in there that maybe that we look at it as in the human lens. Maybe it's so much different there than it is in this human dense vibration. That whole world and the laws in that dimension is so different that, this is just a small part of our soul. It's so much more than it. Even the colors, they were talking to me the other day about the colors are so rich that the reds and the values of the reds and the purples, they're so different and rich. And we don't know that. But over there, it's such a different situation there. And do they hear us? Their thoughts are so real. And I think, and I can just say that I think you hear them so clearly. And I think when you open yourself and allow yourself to be there, you are right there. I saw it when we were working together in North Carolina. And when you surrender, you let spirit take over, and you just do it for love and faith.
I do. I try. But because they love to speak to us so much, then some people aren't listening. Maybe they're too afraid, or they don't think they can hear them. What you think becomes your reality. So if you believe you can't hear them, you won't hear them. But even though they're talking, so it's wonderful to be a medium and be able to bring that in and offer the words that they're trying to say. But you're right, James, it's completely different than what we cannot, there are no human words for what it's like there.
No.
The colors are so vibrant, the flowers, everything is light, everything is pulsating in life, everything. You don't
Great
just see. Have you ever held a leaf and looked at the veins?
Yes. Not for a long time, but yes.
It goes deeper, doesn't it? It's like it's pulsating, and you can see the life in that leaf, but you don't see that when you're holding it down here, or putting it in your hand, and that's what it's like there.
Wow. Tell us
friend
what
Carolyn
is.
passed over.
Go ahead.
No,
go ahead.
I was going to say, my friend Carol passed over, and she comes back occasionally. She'll come back now more, but she described it to me, and I could tell that she was really trying hard to bring down the vibration because she was such a high frequency. And she was also a Gemini, by the way, Susan. And she said, it's like filaments. It's like filaments of pulsating light. You said pulsating, like filaments of light. And I love that.
Yes, that's such a great way to put it. It's just pulsing and alive. People ask me, are my loved ones at peace? And I laugh because I say, well, they're happy as they can be, but they're not laying around going, oh, this is peaceful. That's boring. They are living. They are moving. They are shaking. It is alive. They are learning, and they're happy. They're so happy. When the angels talk.
Oh, go ahead.
when the angels talk, the words and the music come out at the same time. And that's why I know why we love music in our souls so much. They created it. And I watched it, it wasn't humming, it was words and music coming out of their, what I would call their mouths. I don't know how else to say it. And, again, they're not our dimension, but the beauty of that when they speak to us. And so you listen to music and you heal from it. You feel.
You know why, Susan? I think it's harmonic perfection.
Yeah, I agree. I think of the whale song when I think of that. That's as close as I can get to it.
Kelly, you're going to ask a question.
Yeah. What would you like readers to take away from your book? What are some of the things that you think are some of the highlights for them?
There's a lot of information in there.
Because there's so much information and it's so well written.
Hope and healing.
What are the bullets?
And knowing that we don't die.
Okay.
I want people to learn to connect.
Because there's a lot of.
I'm sorry, that got lagged. I didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
There's a lot of wisdom in your book. So, like, what are the bullet points you want people to get from Infinite Life, Infinite Lessons? There's so many. I mean, there's so many.
I think harnessing fear and or mastering fear and harnessing intuition. I think understanding that we do walk among them. They are in our world. The pure love of spirit, what it's like in the afterlife, where your loved ones are, the signs they send you. I've touched on all of it, and not just touched on it. I've actually talked about all of it in some form. And for me, it's hope and healing, understanding we don't die and that we are loved and we are loved. They are pure love, especially the angels, because they've never stepped on. I think the guides can be a little sassy, honestly. Yeah. I do. When I talk about that in my book, it's like, what are you thinking, Susan? I hear that in my head. What are you thinking?
What your book reminds me of, Susan? Well, you know what your book reminds me of, though? It's like when people talk about near-death experiences or having a very profound experience or this incredible aha moment. Your book is like that. It's like an experience, like, wow, all this wisdom at once. It's like, boom, there it is. And that's really what I felt when I was reading that. It was just like, and you bring it in that wisdom in.
I love that. Thank you for saying that, because that's what I was trying to offer. I want people to know I'm just, if I can survive, they can. If I can thrive and be more because of it, not in spite of my journey, they can. That's what I want people to see, is they are not alone in their pain. We all have it, and we can be there for them. And the spirit world wants them to know that. They are not alone. They are there with them, loving them through it. And when we can tap into that, we can walk through whatever we have to go through in a completely different frame of mind. Yeah.
And Susan, my question for you: how many years have you been working as a medium now? 20 years or? 15?
Oh yeah, I've been doing it my whole life, but I would say professionally about 23 years, 24 years.
And have you noticed that has the mediumship shifted in the past several years or 10 years, or how has it shifted in your world? Because Kelly, it's probably shifted in my world. It's shifted. How has it shifted in your world, Susan?
I think there's an ease to it. There's an ease to it. It becomes a part of me, not an extension of me. And so now, like, I'll go to the restaurants and I'll see somebody standing behind their loved one, and I'll think in my head, oh, their mother's right behind them. Of course, I don't approach them. I would never do that, but I see it. It's ease compared to what it was. In the beginning, I was scared that I'd be wrong instead of looking at what was correct and accurate. And so now I just allow. I just let go and allow, which I didn't when I started. I was scared. I was. And there are a few times where I still am, honestly. And I'll have to ask them, show up and suit up.
Yeah, and then when you
because
surrender.
I need you.
Yeah. But don't you know, and always remember that they just show up. They're always there when you need them.
They are. They are. They've never let me down.
Yeah.
I've let myself down. Maybe I didn't get sleep. Maybe I was sick and I shouldn't have been working, overtired, over hungry, over thirsty. You have to take care of your body, mind, and spirit to have them channel through you properly. They gave it to us to take care of. So when I'm too tired or whatever that case may be, I do myself a disservice, and it's harder for them to reach me. So it's important to take care of myself.
So true. Such good advice. And your book it's a workbook too, isn't it?
Yes.
Show everybody.
It's right in front of me. That's why I keep giggling when you say I have
put
to
it out. It's beautiful.
The cover is beautiful. Check that out. Yeah.
Infinite Life, Infinite Lessons. Now,
Yeah,
is
I
it
love that.
available
The
now,
spirit life.
Susan? Is it
What?
available now?
It's
Yeah.
on pre-sale now, but it will be available on the 16th
Of July.
of July. And yes, at the end of every chapter are integration moments and exercises to learn to expand your abilities, your understanding, your love, your soul. So every single chapter has that in it.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And you're teaching a lot now too, right, Susan? You mentioned you were
I
teaching.
am.
Tell everybody about
Yeah.
that. Like,
I teach very small groups because they come to my office, and I haven't done a giant teaching, but I want to. I love it.
you
Teaching,
will.
I love it. Yeah, I think so. I trust that. And I take it in because it's my favorite thing to do. I teach forensics because I help find missing people.
Oh, tell us
And I've
about
been
that.
doing that.
Please. Tell us about that. We want to hear about that.
I'm working on a case right now of a man who's royalty that came up missing in Santa Monica. And that area, I'll just say that area, that's better, Malibu. And it's been really hard because he's gone, and they're trying to find him, and I keep giving them information. But I worked on the case for Megadeth's mother-in-law, and I kept telling the detectives she's less than a mile from the camp. She's less than, and I would write it to them over and over because I do it usually anonymously. Now I'm sharing it, but and I kept writing it, and they said it's impossible. The dogs would have found her, and I said, "Oh, you'll find her on a Wednesday." She says, "You'll find her three weeks later or 3 months later. I don't remember. It was number 3." And I said, "You'll find her from her little white tennis shoes and dense brush, and a worker will find her." And it's exactly what happened on a Wednesday.
Ooh.
So she wouldn't let go. And then I worked on the case by you, actually, of the captain of the army that came up missing, the woman, and her dog came up missing.
I don't
Her
remember
name
that.
was Julia. Yeah, her name was Julia. And I talked to her boyfriend, who had the same name as her killer. So I thought I was talking to the killer. I got scared to death.
Oh, jeez.
Scared to death. And then he said, no, we have the same name. I won't say, well, he's in prison. Her ex-husband and him have the same name. And I went, oh, okay. I was scared. I could feel my heart pounding just when I say it. And I worked on that case, and I couldn't find her, but I could tell them where they'd find all the evidence, and they did.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's hard to find.
Do you like working forensic cases?
I love it. I teach it. I love it. It's it takes a lot to teach it, but I love to get those groups together where they're all doing it, and then they compare. It's so fun to watch. They get so into it, and they just go by their intuition. But finding the bodies are hard. It's hard. It's one of the things that's the hardest to do. But you know who taught me how to do it? Lisa Williams and Tony Stockwell.
Oh yeah, Tony Stockwell. Sure, of course. I remember Tony had classes on it. Yeah, Tony does a lot. Yeah,
Yeah, I had fun doing it with him.
Yeah,
I kept
Tony's
saying, he showed us a group of people, and I kept saying, I keep hearing Jack the Ripper, but I know it has nothing to do with that era. And he said they actually called him Jack the Stripper. And I went, what?
Yeah.
My whole body went, what? Because when you can tap into that essence and help someone that is, and seriously help them, they don't have to be gone to help. And that's what I recognized, and I didn't know. I thought they had to be dead for me to help. And I'm recognizing coma patients can talk to us, and people that aren't dead, we still get the intuition.
It's true.
The spirit world gives it to us. So I helped find a young man. I love it.
Wow.
I don't charge for it. I just want to say that out there, because I think that people think we charge for every little thing we do, and we don't. There's a lot of things I do for love.
Yeah, it's true.
Wow.
True. And
But it's
let
exciting.
me ask you, are you on for the book coming out? I know you do a lot of social media stuff, but any like bookstores, or since I've published a book in a while, I'm not sure how that works anymore, but what media
I'm
things
doing on the 20th of July. I do Irvine Spectrum on the
Are you
Halloween.
really?
Yeah.
Text me that. I might be able to go to that. Kelly, you and I be doing
I would love that.
Well, we're going to be a week. Yeah, we'll leave a week later, but yeah, you can definitely go.
Oh, I'd love that.
Yeah.
And then a week later, on a Saturday, I'm doing Mystic Bookstore in
Orange
Santa
County?
Monica area. Santa Monica
Okay.
area. And then I am doing the Grove, which I've asked you guys
October.
to come, and I would love you to be there. And I'm doing that in October, the 26th of October. So I am doing book signings. I'm excited to do it. I'm going to have a lot of influencers at some of them, especially the Grove's going to be huge. But I hope people come out and spend some time with me. I will probably do a few readings. I'm going to explain mediumship. So I won't just sit there and sign books. We actually rented the room for a while so that I could, offer a few things. And
Well, you're such a gifted medium. You got to give the messages. You're so gifted.
yeah. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. It's not always that, I have to say, yeah, and I'm not trying to put myself down at all, but it's not always that powerful. That was mind blowing to me.
Oh no, you were
The
fabulous.
lamb.
You were fabulous.
The lamb is like,
what? Fell in my chair.
Me too. Me too.
It was everybody was a really controlled environment. We were in a room. It was a studio, and it was like with 7,000 people in front of us on these television screens. And you really had it. And I was hosting it and doing readings and teaching. It was like I don't know where I was, but you were right there.
Well,
you were insistent, which I loved. You were insistent. No, it can't be you. And you could feel when the energy's with someone or when it's not. And I was so happy you stayed with it. Said, no, I want to go back to the female cancer, and I want to go back. And you got it. And it was just you stuck with it. You stuck with it, which is important.
Thank you. Thank you. I try really hard to help everyone heal, but sometimes people come on and it doesn't belong to them, and it's sad.
And you can't help everybody. You can't help everyone. You just put it out there.
I try to give them a little something because we can tap in, but at the end of the day, it takes from the other person that has, actually screamed in my ear. I want to talk to my mom. I want to talk to my sister, or my lover, or whatever it is. So I don't want to take from that, but yeah.
Wow. And when are you doing your online class for this book?
So here it is. If you pre-sell,
we got to do an online course, please, for you. You have to do that.
I'm going to, but here's the other part. So I'm going to do a course later on once I get myself going. Okay. And I'm already planning it. But if you pre-sell the book right now, you get to have 13 Zooms with me, with the group, 1 a month, doing each chapter.
So if you buy the book right now.
Yeah, you have to pre-sell it, and you have to go to my website, susangrau.com. It's GRAU. Okay. If they don't go to that one, they'll just buy the book and they won't get the download. But if you go to my website and buy it, you actually get to download a little book that I wrote, another little book of teaching, and you get a link to the first the first Zoom.
Wow, that's great. Now, I didn't even know you were doing that, but I just had this feeling.
Yes, you did.
You're such a great teacher, and I think that people should take advantage of that. Not only the book, but the online lessons, because you're a very excellent teacher as well.
Thank you.
You've had
we got
so
to
many.
Teach.
Oh, I was going to say you've had so many deep experiences. Everybody can relate to you. Very relatable.
I relate to them, which is the good part. I can relate to them when I see what they're going through. And, let's face it, nobody wants, grief is its own entity. And I do want to say that we grieve alone. It's singular, but meaning I might lose my mom. We have the same mom. You lose her too, but you grieve differently than me. So grief does feel very lonely. So it's wonderful to have people come into our lives that can help us with communication, talking to the spirit world, understanding grief, and knowing what we need.
It's true. It's true. Wow. And Susan, where do you go from here? What's next?
I'm writing another book.
Are you? Of course you are.
Yes, I am. It's called, well, I'm not a believer that we have soul wounds. Okay. And I know that's a big hype.
We have what?
I'm not a believer that we have soul wounds. I know our soul can feel wounding, but I believe our soul is the
soul wounds. Okay.
Yeah. I believe that the soul is the divine vine to the divine. And it is the one place we can go to heal. If I have soul wounds and you have soul wounds, where are we going to go? Right? So I feel like the soul is protected from damage. We can have heart wounds, spirit wounds, head wounds, spirit being the breath of life. So I'm writing a book, and it's called Infinite Healing, Infinite Healing. And I have a podcast out called Infinite Wisdom.
Oh, do you have that out now?
Yeah, I'm putting my third one out next week.
Congratulations. It's great.
It's great.
You better copyright that title, young lady.
Yeah, I'm like, I love infinite. Everything to me is infinite because they taught me that we never end and we never begin. We are intimate, infinite, and we, intimately infinite.
That's true. Well,
You
thank
know,
you, Susan, really for joining us.
Yeah.
And so Infinite Life, Infinite Lessons, and it's SusanGrau.com, correct? That's your website.
And
So
pre-order it now. Get it
order
now.
definitely. It's an opportunity, everybody. It really is. I'm having an evening of spirit messages with Kelly White. Yay, live.
Yay,
Kelly, we're going to be on
live.
stage live.
We
Yeah.
are July
In Chicago.
25th in Chicago. Please join us if you're in the Chicago area.
Chicago.
Oh,
my
fun.
favorite places.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it'll be really
It'll be
fun.
great.
Well,
Thank you, Susan.
enjoy.
Thank you so
It'll
much.
be amazing. I have no doubt. Thank you. I love you guys. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Bye-bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye.